So Goffs have always had a strong a global reach, a strong network of agents and representatives in all four corners of the globe. And North America has always been very well represented. And our brand new representative in the United States is Jacob West. Jacob, you're very welcome to the team at Goffs. Now, tell me, how did you get involved with Ireland's leading bloodstock auction house?
It was kind of a little bit of a shock when Henry picked up the phone and called me and offered me the position, because I've just heralded Goffs in such a high regard, and the international field that those guys have is unremarkable, and the success that we've seen from Americans coming over to Goffs and buying over there, and whether they're leaving horses in Europe to race or bringing them back to the States, has kind of been unmatched. So when he reached out to me and offered me the position, I jumped on it in a heartbeat, because I just thought it was a great way to get exposure for more Americans to come over there and participate, and also for myself to come over there and participate.
Now, of course, we're so familiar with Americans breeding top class dirt horses. And of course, in Ireland and in Europe, we're better known for our turf horses. How important is turf racing in North America, Jacob?
I mean, it now is a mainstay in the States here, with the purses that are on offering for, turf racing. You can't overlook it anymore. I think one of the biggest things that needs to be touched on, or at least discussed, is, the pullback that we have in Lasix here in our graded stakes. And if you can go over to Europe, you can buy, especially over at Goffs, and you can buy a horse from a family that hasn't raced on Lasix, bring it back over here to the U.S. and compete for that prize money that we're offering here. It kind of gives you a step ahead of, I think, of everybody else.
That's a very valid point about the pedigrees, the Lasix free element. And of course, you only have to go back a few generations, and in most horses, you can find American influences anyway, because in most pedigrees in Europe and in Ireland, Northern Dancers, Saddler's Wells, and so on and so forth. So in many ways, it is a case of old friends being best.
100%. I mean, it's, for years, back, however long you want to go back, there was a strong influence of Europeans coming to America, buying, the top horses that they could and taking them back. I think, you saw it with Ben Sangster and the whole Coolmore group and all that. And even some of the horses, the mares that you see now on offering over at Goffs, they go back to American families, like you said. And it just offers, American buyers an opportunity to come over there and buy, something that they might be familiar with back in the families, and bring them back to America.
Now, am I right in thinking you were born and bred in Kentucky?
I was born actually in Texas, right outside of Houston, in a small town called Katy, Texas. And moved to Kentucky at a very young age, when I was very young, and grew up in a small town in the western part of the state called Paducah. There's no horse racing there. There was one little small standard bred track there, but when you live in Kentucky, I think it's probably like anywhere else in the world, you fall in love with what's around you. Horse racing, bourbon, and basketball are what we're known for. So those are three loves in my life, and always were from a young age. And then when I came to Lexington to go to University of Kentucky, it just took on a life of its own.
I can well imagine. Yeah, I would imagine there was no escaping horse racing once you got to Lexington. Jacob, what was your way into the sport or into the industry? But was it through handicapping and betting, or was it just a sort of a genuine love of the horse as a species?
I think it was just more of a genuine love of the horse. Like I said, I didn't really grow up around horses back home. And then when I moved to Lexington, you just become in awe of just the magnificent farms and Keeneland and Churchill and everything that goes on around you. You don't, when you're not here, you think of horse racing as the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. You remember those. You watch those races. You're proud to tell people when you're from Kentucky that, you love the horses and stuff. But when you really get into Lexington, you can't outrun it. Once it gets into your blood, man, around here, there's no rehab for this. It is a drug that gets into you, and you just fall in love with it. And that's what I did. There were many a days that I skipped school here in college at UK and was at Keeneland, or going to Churchill, or going in the mornings to watch horses work at Keeneland. And it's just magnificent around here. So it's really a blessing to be here.
How big an influence has Tailor-made farms been on you as a professional?
They are the reason why who I am. I started out there and started out at the bottom. There was Frank Tailor threw me into a maiden and Baron mare barn, and I was barely making minimum wage, and basically told me, if you want to be respected in this industry, you got to start at the bottom and work your way to the top. And that's exactly what I did. There's such phenomenal teachers there. They have a big operation. You get to see something new every day. It's not just the same old thing of showing up and seeing, just the ordinary stuff. And they're incredible people of exposing people to this awesome industry. They really do take pride in teaching people the right way. It was something they learned from their father. And they've kind of put that on them to themselves to help the next generation of this business. And I'm just a byproduct of that.
How much do you enjoy your other role with West Bloodstock in terms of selecting horses for clients, be it a client who wants a good 2-year-old or somebody who wants a dirt horse or a turf horse? I mean, how much do you enjoy trying to find a horse to I guess, without using any puns, to meet the tailor-made criteria that your client wants?
Yeah, it's obviously the hunt is what I love. Going out and finding those athletes and trying to fill those goals of what, different clientele, like you said, might have, whether it's, they want to win the Kentucky Derby, they want to buy a nice filly and win the Kentucky Oaks, or just have a nice racehorse for a good value. It's the hunt of the whole thing that I love. I'm a little bit of a sales junkie, so to speak. I love going to the sales. I love sifting through all the horses. Something that was instilled in my brain early on was buy the physical and let the pedigree fall in behind it. So I'm a physical type buyer. I think you can see from the horses that I've selected over the years, they might be a little bit high priced for certain clientele. And then there's been other horses that have been quote unquote low priced horses, value horses that we've had success with. So the hunt is what gets me. I mean, I might go to a sale and buy however many, or I might go to a sale and buy zero. But I still walk in there every day, with my kind of homework done and ready to go to war, so to speak, and try to find them.
With your new role at Goffs, Jacob, what are you hoping to achieve, or indeed, what has your brief been?
I think just more and more what I think is just exposing more Americans to European bloodstock or European racing. The races that are run over in Europe that have the most, highest regards, whether they're something that's run at Ascot or so on, et cetera, exposing more and more to that. In today's day and age, we've seen the success that Americans have had over, at Ascot. So, in particular, but it's today's day and age, you got to touch all sides of this market, globally. If you want to be a prominent player in the game, you should be willing to, step outside the American box, buy something, and whether you want to keep it over there or bring it back home, whatever is easiest. But I think just exposing more Americans to that side of the, the pond, so to speak, is what I'm kind of excited about the most.
Absolutely. And it's fair to say the Orby sale at Goffs has thrown up a plethora of good horses that have done well in America. I'm thinking of the likes of Raging Bull, who seems to have won a grade one pretty much every month the last few seasons. He's done very well for the likes of Peter Brandt and Chad Brown.
Exactly. I mean, you can see how well Chad's done with the horses that he's got his hands on, and even more so Wesley with the horses that he's got his hands on. Wesley Ward, his program seems like it's totally directed towards Ascot, which it probably is, but he's also had success outside of that here in the States with some Goffs Orby's graduates.
Have you been to Ireland before, Jacob?
You know what? I never have. Of all the places in the world that I've been, I have never been to Ireland. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting over there and seeing it. It's been on my bucket list for a long, long time. And it's just always evaded me somehow, some way. I've had, ways to somehow not end up showing up over there, but I'm really, really looking forward to getting over there.
Now, our yearling inspectors at the moment in Ireland, and indeed throughout the United Kingdom as well, are busy scouting the farms, looking for nice horses, and telling the vendors that we're going to make every effort to get every possible buyer over to the Orby sale this year. What indeed will you be doing at your end in the United States to entice as many potential purchasers across?
I think just putting the results in front of them, showing what people have done in the previous sales. And like I said, now with American racing having a little bit of a pullback in Lasix, if you can put that, thought in their brain that they can go over there, buy a horse that comes from a family that hasn't raced on Lasix, bring it back here, compete for some of, 7-figure races on the turf side. It really is something that I think you have to think about, and you have to maybe, put your toe in the water and get some exposure towards.
Well, we very much look forward to welcoming you to Goffs in September, late September, early October for the Orby sale. And hopefully it will be the first of many visits for you across the Atlantic to Ireland.
Exactly. I can't wait. Thank you, guys.